His finger hovered over the mouse for half a second, just long enough for me to whisper, "Wait," and then he clicked send. I watched the email whoosh away. Subject line, Q4 Strategic Expansion Plan by Martin Holloway. By Martin. Not me. Not us. Just him. 3 months of work. 80-hour weeks. Client interviews I'd conducted at dawn because of time zones. Market research so detailed I could recite competitor strategies in my sleep. All of it packaged in that attachment he'd just sent to the entire board of directors under his name alone. "Hope you don't mind," Martin said, straightening his tie like he hadn't just gutted me. "You're brilliant at groundwork, but the board needs one voice. One face. You understand." He winked. Actually winked at me. I smiled. The tight, frozen kind of smile you force when your insides are screaming, but you're standing in a glass office where everyone can see. My hands were shaking, so I folded them in my lap. The heat crawled up my neck and settled behind my ears like a drumbeat. But I didn't say a word. I just watched that smug little grin on his face, the way he adjusted his cuffs like he'd earned something. My name is Hollis Brennan. I'm 32 years old, and this was the day I stopped being loyal. I'd been at Halwick and Bright for 4 years. It's a high-profile marketing firm in Chicago, the kind of place where egos wear designer suits and everyone pretends to care about collaboration. When I started, I was hungry, ambitious. I thought if I worked hard enough, people would notice. I thought Martin was mentoring me. He wasn't. He was studying me, learning my style, memorizing my strategies, and then slowly, carefully, he started claiming them as his own. It didn't happen overnight. First, it was small things. He'd repeat something I said in a meeting and act like it was his idea. He'd reword my emails and forward them to executives without my name attached. When I called him out privately, he'd laugh it off. "We're a team, Hollis. Stop being so sensitive." So I stopped calling him out. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was overreacting, that this was just how corporate life worked. But today he didn't just steal my idea. He erased me completely. And he did it right in front of me, with that wink, like I should be grateful he let me do the work. I left his office in silence, walked back to my desk, sat down, and opened a new spreadsheet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment over and over. The click of the mouse, the subject line, his wink, the way he said, "You're brilliant at groundwork," like I was some intern who should be honored to carry his briefcase. I got out of bed at 2 in the morning and opened my laptop. I pulled up every project I'd worked on in the last 2 years, every presentation, every pitch deck, every email chain. I started organizing them by date, by project name, by who took credit. Tab 1, timeline of stolen work. Tab 2, original emails with timestamps. Tab 3, board meeting minutes where Martin presented my ideas as his. I didn't know what I was building yet, but I knew I needed proof. I needed receipts. Because if I was going to do something about this, I had to be smarter than him. Quieter, more strategic. Martin played dirty, but he played loud. He bragged. He left trails, and I was about to follow every single one. By sunrise, I had 12 projects documented. 12 times Martin had taken my work and made it his. The evidence was clear, organized, undeniable. I saved the file, backed it up, and then I went to work like nothing had changed. The next morning, Martin called an all-hands meeting. He stood at the front of the conference room with a clicker in his hand, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "I'm excited to share the Q4 Strategic Expansion Plan with you all," he began. "This has been months in the making, and I think it's some of the best work we've done as a team." As a team. I almost laughed. He clicked through the slides, my research, my words. He even used the term I'd coined, the pivot play, except he'd renamed it Holloway's Hook. His last name, his hook. When he finished, everyone clapped. The VP of Strategy, Jordan, stood up and shook his hand. "This is brilliant, Martin. Truly visionary." Martin smiled and gestured toward me. Couldn't have done it without Hollis. She's a rock star with the data. A rock star with the data. Like I was some number cruncher in the back room, not the person who built the entire strategy from the ground up. Everyone looked at me. I smiled and nodded, happy to help. Inside, I was taking notes. Jordan praised him. The CFO called it visionary. The CEO wasn't in the room, but I knew he'd see the deck soon. And when he did, I'd make sure he knew the truth. That afternoon, Martin stopped by my desk. He leaned against the cubicle wall with his arms crossed, looking pleased with himself. "You're not mad, are you?" he asked. I looked up from my computer. "About what?" "The presentation. You seem quiet." "I'm fine, Martin. Just focused." He studied me for a moment, like he was trying to figure out if I was lying. Then he smiled. "Good, because I'm just trying to help your career, you know. You're not really a front-facing kind of person. You get intense. It's distracting." I blinked. 2 days ago, he called me a powerhouse. Now I was intense and distracting. "You're the genius," he continued, his voice smooth and fake. "I'm just helping package it right. That's what good leaders do." I nodded, but inside, something snapped. The fog lifted. I finally saw it clearly. He wasn't mentoring me. He was repackaging me, using my brain to build his career. "Thanks for looking out for me," I said, my voice flat. He patted my shoulder. "Anytime." When he walked away, I added a new tab to my spreadsheet, gaslighting tactics, and I started documenting every word. 2 weeks later, Martin made a mistake. A big one. He was presenting a budget proposal to the executive team, and he got the numbers wrong. Not slightly off, completely wrong. He'd inflated projected revenue by nearly 30%, which made the entire strategy look unrealistic. I saw at the moment he put the slide up. So did the CFO, Kenneth. His eyes narrowed. He leaned forward. "Martin, can you walk me through how you got to that revenue figure?" Martin stammered. Yeah, of course. It's based on market growth trends and client acquisition rates." "Which trends specifically?" Martin looked at me. His expression was desperate. He wanted me to save him. I smiled and said nothing. He fumbled through an explanation that made no sense. Kenneth's face grew tighter. Jordan, the VP, looked uncomfortable. The room got very quiet. After the meeting, Martin stormed into my office. "Why didn't you back me up?" I kept my eyes on my screen. "I figured you had it covered, Martin. You're the face, remember? The one with the vision." His jaw clenched. "Don't play games with me." "I'm not playing anything," I said calmly. "You presented. I assumed you knew your numbers." He left without another word. And for the first time since I'd met him, Martin Holloway didn't have a comeback. A few days later, I was in the elevator when someone stepped in behind me. It was Linda from legal. She was in her 50s, sharp, quiet, the kind of person who noticed everything but said very little. She pressed the button for the third floor, then glanced at me. "I don't trust him," she said simply. I looked at her, surprised. "Who?" "Martin." She didn't smile. "If you ever need something, come to me." Before I could respond, she handed me a folded post-it note. The elevator dinged. She stepped out without looking back. I waited until I was alone to open it. Written in neat handwriting, "Internal promotion schedules, confidential." I didn't unfold it fully until I got home that night. Inside was a printout. Martin's name was circled in red. Next to it, VP of Strategy, Q for consideration. He was being considered for a promotion. A big one. And if he got it, I'd be stuck under him forever, doing his work while he climbed higher and higher. I stared at that paper for a long time. Then I added it to my file. And I started planning my next move. Martin started acting different after that budget meeting. He was more aggressive, more possessive of his image. He began name-dropping in meetings, saying things like, "When I'm in the VP seat," or "Once I'm leading strategy at the executive level." He was already rehearsing his victory speech, already imagining himself in Jordan's chair. And he started delegating more work to me, not because he trusted me, but because he wanted to free up his time for high-level thinking. That's what he called it, high-level thinking. What it really meant was, I do the work, he takes the credit, and he gets promoted. So I smiled. I said yes to everything. I took his workload. I let him relax. I let him think he'd won. And I collected every mistake he made. Every missed deadline. Every sloppy email. Every overconfident promise he couldn't deliver on. Martin thought he was untouchable. But he was building his own trap, one careless decision at a time. And I was taking notes. A few weeks later, Martin asked me a question in front of Jordan. Hey, Hollis, do you have the Q3 analytics ready? I need them for the client call. I blinked, looking confused. You said you wanted to handle those yourself, Martin. Remember? You told me last week you'd take care of it. He froze. Jordan looked between us, frowning. You were supposed to handle them, Martin? Martin forced a laugh. No, I just meant I'd review them. Hollis must have misunderstood. I have the email, I said, pulling out my phone. You wrote, I'll take the Q3 numbers. Focus on the deck. Want me to forward it? Jordan's frown deepened. Martin's face turned red. That's fine, Jordan said slowly. Just get them to me by end of day, Martin. Martin nodded stiffly. When Jordan left, he turned to me, his voice low and furious. Don't ever pull that again. I tilted my head. Pull what? I was just clarifying. Thought we were a team. He didn't respond, but his hands were shaking. That night, he sent me an all-caps message on Slack. Don't ever embarrass me in front of Jordan again. I replied, sorry, I'm confused. What did I do wrong? He didn't answer, and I smiled. 2 weeks later, Martin forgot to submit a critical budget approval. It was his responsibility, and I'd reminded him twice in writing. But he ignored me. The client lost access to their campaign platform for 48 hours. Jordan was furious. The client threatened to pull their contract. Martin tried to blame the tech team. But I'd already forwarded the email chain to Jordan. Every reminder I'd sent. Every time Martin had said, I'll handle it. Jordan didn't respond to me directly. But a week later, Martin stopped getting invited to certain strategy calls. Calls I was suddenly included in. One afternoon, I got an email from Patricia, a senior executive I'd never worked with directly. Subject line, coffee? We met the next day at a cafe near the office. She got straight to the point. I've been watching your work, Hollis. You're sharp, strategic. I'd love your insight on a new vertical we're exploring. I'd be happy to help, I said. She smiled. Good. I'll send you the brief. Let's keep this between us for now. Martin wasn't CC'd. He didn't know about the meeting. And when I walked past his office later, I saw him staring at his screen, his jaw tight. He knew something was shifting. He just didn't know what. A month later, Martin told the board I'd missed a major deliverable. He said it in front of everyone during a status update call. Unfortunately, Hollis didn't get the client profile completed on time, so we're a bit behind schedule. I unmuted myself. I'm sorry, Martin, but I submitted that profile last Tuesday. I have the timestamp and the confirmation email. Silence. I can pull it up right now if you'd like, I added. The CEO, Warren, spoke up. Hollis, can you send that to me directly? Of course. Martin tried to backtrack. I think there was just some confusion with the file structure. Hollis, stay on the line after this call, Warren said. Everyone else, we're good here. The call ended. Martin's face was pale. And for the first time, I wasn't the one who looked bad. He was. Warren's video stayed on. He leaned back in his chair and studied me through the screen. Is there something I should know, Hollis? I didn't cry. I didn't vent. I kept my voice calm and professional. If you're asking whether I've been covering for Martin, the answer is yes. But I've stopped. Warren's expression didn't change. Why now? Because I realized I was enabling him. And it wasn't helping the company. Or me. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, send me what you've got. Off the record. I hesitated. What do you mean? Any documentation. Emails. Project files. Anything that shows the full picture. I'll keep it confidential. I nodded. I'll send it tonight. Good. And Hollis? Don't tell anyone about this conversation. I won't. The screen went black. And I sat there, my heart pounding, knowing I just made a choice I couldn't take back. That night, I compiled everything. Emails, slide decks, Slack messages, metadata logs showing when files were created, edited, sent. I organized it by project, by date, by pattern. At the end, I wrote a short note. I'm not asking for anything. I just want the truth to land where it belongs. I attached the file and hit send. Then I closed my laptop and waited. 2 weeks went by. Nothing. No response from Warren. No follow-up. No acknowledgement that he'd even opened the file. Martin grew cocky again. He started making jokes in meetings, acting like everything was fine. He even invited me to lunch once, like we were buddies. I went. I smiled. I played along. But inside, I was dying. Had I made a mistake? Had Warren ignored everything I sent? Then, on a Friday afternoon, I got a calendar invite. Subject line, private review meeting. Attendees, Warren, CHRO Legal, and me. My stomach dropped. This was it. Either I was about to be vindicated, or I just ended my own career. The meeting was held in a small conference room on the executive floor. Warren sat at the head of the table. The CHRO, a woman named Felicia, sat to his right. Linda from legal was there too, and she gave me a small nod when I walked in. Felicia spoke first. Hollis, thank you for coming. We want to ask you some questions about your working relationship with Martin Holloway. Of course, I said. Were you ever threatened by him? Did he ever imply retaliation if you spoke up? I thought carefully. Not directly, but he made it clear that questioning him would make me look difficult, emotional, hard to manage. So I stopped questioning him. Why didn't you come forward sooner? I looked her in the eye, because I was loyal, and I was scared of being labeled the problem. Warren leaned forward. You're not the problem, Hollis. We've been tracking him. You gave us what we needed. Warren slid a folder across the table. On the front, it read, Interim Strategy Lead, Offer, Hollis Brennan. I stared at it. What is this? Martin is being placed on administrative leave while we complete a formal investigation, Felicia said. In the meantime, we need someone to lead the strategy team. Someone we trust. We want that to be you, Warren said. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just looked at the folder and said, I accept. Warren nodded. Good. You start Monday. That weekend, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post anything. I just sat with it, trying to process what had happened. For years of being invisible. And now I was about to walk into the office as Martin's replacement. On Monday morning, I arrived early. When I got to the strategy wing, I saw it immediately. Martin's nameplate was gone. In its place was a temporary sign with my name, Hollis Brennan, Interim Strategy Lead. I stood there for a moment, staring at it. Then I walked into the office, set my bag down, and got to work. 20 minutes later, Martin arrived. He was carrying his usual coffee, scrolling through his phone. He looked up, saw my name on the door, and stopped cold. Wait, you're... I nodded. Your new boss. His face went white, then red, then something between shock and rage. This is a mistake, he said. No, I replied calmly. This is a correction. He opened his mouth to argue, but I turned back to my computer. He stood there for another moment, then walked away. The first team meeting was tense. Martin tried to assert himself, jumping in with suggestions, talking over people. I let him go on for a minute. Then I cut him off. Martin, this is a strategic alignment discussion. I'll loop you in when it's relevant. Every head in the room turned. He stared at me, stunned. For now, I continued. I need you to focus on the client transition documents. I'll review them by end of week. He didn't say another word for the rest of the meeting. And when it ended, he was the first one out the door. A few days later, Linda sent me a message, audit complete. Several falsified reports. HR is moving forward. I read it twice. Martin hadn't just stolen credit. He'd lied in official reports, fudged numbers, misrepresented timelines, and now it was all documented. That afternoon, HR called him in. He came out an hour later, pale, sweating. He didn't speak to anyone, just packed his things and left. By 4 o'clock, his desk was empty. An email went out from Felicia. Martin Holloway has resigned to pursue other opportunities. We wish him well. No farewell party. No goodbye email from him. He was just gone. I spent the next week cleaning up. I deleted the shared folders Martin had built from my work. I removed his templates. I renamed every document that had his name attached when it should have been mine. I reclaimed every inch of my labor, and nobody questioned it, because now everyone knew the truth. A month later, I led my first board presentation. I walked them through a new campaign strategy I'd built from scratch. When I finished, Warren stood up and clapped. This is exceptional work, Hollis. You've done more in 6 weeks than most people do in 6 months. The rest of the board joined in. Jordan shook my hand. Patricia smiled at me from across the table. Nobody mentioned Martin. It was like he'd never existed. 3 weeks after that, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I checked. It was Martin. His voice was shaky, almost pleading. Hollis, it's me. I just wanted to talk. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we meet? I'd really like to explain. I listened to the message twice. Then I deleted it. And I blocked the number. 6 months later, I was officially promoted to VP of Strategy. My name went on the website. My photo went up in the leadership hallway. I had a team of 12 people, a corner office, and a seat at the executive table. I didn't gloat. I didn't brag. I just did the work. Good, honest, strategic work. And people noticed. One afternoon, a junior strategist named Simone came to my office. She looked nervous. Can I ask you something? Of course. How did you get here? I mean, how did you make it to VP so fast? I smiled. I didn't get here fast. I got here carefully. I did the work. I documented everything. And when someone tried to take credit, I didn't scream. I built a case. She nodded slowly. That's really smart. It's survival, I said. Know your worth. And if someone underestimates you, let them. It only makes the fall harder. Looking back, I don't regret any of it. Not the spreadsheets. Not the silence. Not the long game. Because here's the truth. I didn't burn Martin's career. He did. With every lie, every stolen idea, every smug grin. I just held up the mirror. And now, I lead the department he tried to keep me out of. I'm respected. I'm trusted. I'm thriving. And I'm done being quiet. Martin taught me something valuable, even if he didn't mean to. He taught me that loyalty without boundaries is just permission to be used. He taught me that silence isn't professionalism, it's surrender. So if someone ever tries to take what's yours, don't just get mad. Get smart, get organized, and get even. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's inevitable. And when they finally realize what they've lost, you'll already be in the office they thought they deserved, doing the job they pretended they could do. That's real power. And nobody can steal it from you.